Hello, welcome to Convergence Corner, a podcast from ASI Media and Print and Promo Marketing that covers the intersection of the printing and promotional products worlds. If you're familiar with the Convergence Corner column in Print and Promo Marketing magazine, you know that the Convergence Corner is an opportunity to speak with distributors who include both print and promotional products in their business. I'm Brendan Menapace, Content Director for Print and Promo Marketing, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Ruvo, Executive Editor of News and Content Strategy. Today, on the first episode of this podcast, we're going to get into what it's like expanding a business that traditionally focused on print and ventured into apparel and promotional products to create that ever sought after one stop shop. And here to do that with us is Spencer Coleman, owner operator of fully promoted Wasatch Back and Signarama Wasatch Back. I'll let Spencer introduce himself more fully in a second, but I want to provide some quick stats quick. Today, the Signarama side of Spencer's business is seeing a steady 10 to 15% increase in annual sales, and the fully promoted side has seen a 200% increase in year-over-year sales this year alone. Since adopting the franchise model about 7 years ago, the Signarama, and then 4 years ago with fully promoted, the business has quadrupled in size and profitability. So, needless to say, the two sides of the business are flourishing. So, Spencer, do you want to introduce yourself and give us some background in your experience in the industry?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, thanks for having me on. I've grown to love the signage industry. I was kind of born and raised in it. My family started an independent sign company 26 years ago and ran that until they converted over to a Signarama. Right as we converted to a Signarama, I was done with school and things like that and wanted to really help put a little bit more effort into the family business and make it grow. So I joined my parents 7 years ago, and we started to just see how our sign and print shop was really being enhanced with the franchise model that Signarama kind of let us build our shop on, their foundation that we kind of built upon. And then we ran that and eventually came across the opportunity to buy one of their other franchises, which is fully promoted. Seeing that we had customers that were just asking for us to do more and more, and eventually brought in silk screening and embroidery in house, as well as now some different printers that will print on various other promotional products. The business as a whole for me really kind of took a kind of a more serious note. I ran the company, under my parents' direction for the last probably 5 years. A year ago, my dad unexpectedly passed away. And so I ended up purchasing the rest of the company that I didn't already own from my mom and siblings, and basically kind of had a big, like, okay, if I'm going to do this, right, how are we really going to do this? Our fully promoted wasn't doing as well as I wanted it to. And so I really like invested tons of time meeting with, ASI people, fully promoted corporate people, and really kind of just said, hey, I want to understand why people buy this stuff, because I know they buy signs. I want to know a little bit more of why they're going to buy this other stuff. And we put a huge focus on it and really flipped our whole sales process on that side of the business. And that's what's added to that 200% plus growth on just that business alone this year.
That's really impressive, Spencer. And one of the more interesting things I felt you said there was this seemed to be driven by, to some degree, by your clients. Is that right? You had customers coming to you and asking you, hey, they're already doing signs with you or whatever it might be, but now they're looking for these other solutions. So you're like, did like a light bulb go off of some kind? Like, like,
Yeah.
hey,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
I can be providing, I have ready-made buyers right here.
Yeah, Chris, I think that's exactly what happened. Is it kind of unfolded. We saw that there, especially in our area, there was maybe one or two other people like really decorating, but no one in the promotional product space. Like everyone was just going online or to bigger cities that are nearby. And so yeah, we have a client book of like 3,000 customers that were all before Signarama, that when we started to show them that, like, hey, we can put your logo on this tumbler, like, we can do this and that. We actually have one customer in particular, they've been bringing us a bunch of like JBL speakers, right? They know, they're like, hey, we can buy these decorated for $80, from this person online, but we can also buy these speakers, and can you decorate them? And now with some of the equipment from both, right? Some of the printers that print signage and regular print stock are very similar in nature and functionality, that they can print promo products. And so we've been able to really establish it where, and some of the runs are big. Some of the runs that we're doing are like 500 pieces, but we're also able to do like 12 too.
Okay.
And so to our customer base, we've now really become that one-stop shop, because they're like, Spencer, we only have 10 employees, but we want to do something nice for them, right?
Mhm.
We don't have that minimum anymore. And then we also save them buttloads of money, because I go tell them 9 out of 10 times, you go buy this mug and I'll just charge you a setup fee and a print fee. And
Okay.
so we're making really good money as far as our margins go, even when people do that.
Really impressive.
That's really impressive. Can you walk me through the process of affiliating with Signarama and then eventually fully promoted? I think that's something that a lot of distributors would be interested in hearing about.
Yeah, I think, and I think it's really interesting. And we went to see all of the various franchisees out there, like franchise options out there. Um, when the first initial of like why we really wanted to do it is, I think a lot of small businesses that run mom and pop, unless they're like really truly like just like gun ho, really cranking stuff out there, they tend to kind of plateau at a certain level, whether that's at like $500,000 or, you know, $1 million. They kind of reach thresholds that they have a hard time getting to. And that's where my family's business set for like 20 years, right? We couldn't get over that. And we ended up becoming friends with another franchisee, another Signarama franchisee, that just said, hey, when you're at this trade show, just come and sit with Signarama and just have a conversation with them, right? And so both the president, the owner, and the VP of Signarama at the time basically sat down with us and said, "Tell us about your business, right? Like, what are you struggling with? What would you like help with?" And they kind of did a deep dive into our business, and they basically said, hey, here's what we want to try and do, right? Like, if you listen to us, we'll get you to double, triple, and beyond what you're doing right now if you just let us help you with these few areas. And so we did a small franchise conversion fee, and they came in and trained us for a couple of weeks on some of their processes and their softwares, and it just made sense for our business, because we were really able to focus on what we did really well at the time: building signs, printing, making t-shirts, doing all of that. It kind of brought the marketing, the website, the POS system that we were lacking in, that really helped the gears to mesh in the machine, right? And then to then ultimately build this working machine that now runs, without me doing every single thing. And so the franchise model really appealed to us in that regard. And then I think fully promoted, that group of the United Franchise Group just more or less was like, hey, this is a great opportunity, right? And we'd had a couple like, bigger projects that were like, oh, we need 50,000 coffee mugs, right? And we were having a real tough time sourcing that on our own. And so, fully promoted corporate, they have great relationships, probably better than some that you can't get without the buying power. That they lined us up with a vendor, and we were just able to really hit the ground running with it.
It sounds like in both instances, it wasn't sometimes a criticism of a franchising model is that it's a rinse and repeat, that
Sure.
you're either you're kind of just buying a
Mhm.
sign or a brand and there's not a lot of support, or their model for supporting you is just kind of one size fits all. But it sounds like that was definitely not the case in both times here, that there was kind of a diagnosis, if you will, of your particular situation, followed by here's what you need to do to get better at what you want to get better at.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that really drew us to Signarama over the others is that yes, they have structure and they have rules and they have processes, but that builds to your freedom and that builds for your growth. And I've never met someone like the CEO and the president of Signarama that are truly wanting their franchisees to be successful at every level in their business and at every level of their life, you know? Like, and to get kind of more personal with this whole thing, I mean, I was sitting next to the owner of Signarama when I got a phone call. Like I was on my way to Florida, and I was sitting in an airport in Florida with the owner of Signarama and his family when I got the phone call that I need to come home because my dad was passing away. And so, in a standpoint of just life in general and making it so that it's more than just making money, they were there to be like, Spencer, like, don't worry about what you have going on here. We'll take care of it. Like, go worry about what's going on at home. And I got daily and weekly and monthly, and I still get calls from them just checking in, right? Which is a huge blessing, especially when you have, I mean, we're dealing with millions and millions of other people's money, and so it can kind of be intense, and it's nice to have guidance and someone to hold you a little bit accountable and kind of also push you to want to be better.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a real humanity aspect to it all, which isn't always the case. So it sounds like you really
Yeah.
lucked out there. I do want to talk about a bit into the product side of things. When you ventured into the promotional side of things, what were some of the first promotional products that you offered, and what decoration techniques did you add, if any, once you brought in things like promo and apparel into the business?
Yeah, so I think probably the start was silk screening, right? Everyone, it's pretty good entry level cost and like basic knowledge and skills to do it. So obviously that was brought in relatively quickly into it, that hey, we're going to start doing this in house. Shortly after, the embroidery machines followed, just because probably still like 70% of our fully promoted side is still apparel decorating, right? So we're doing hats and beanies and t-shirts and jackets all day every day. And so that really started where we, probably about a year and a half ago, I ended up sending my sales team to the ASI show in Chicago to kind of take their blinders off, because I think they were just too afraid to sell like a pen, in all honesty, right? Like, one, I think they thought it was daunting, and two, I just don't think that they realized like how many resources they would have on the
Yeah.
ASI side to be able to get it done. And so they came back from the trade show freaking big-eyed, ready to go, and like next thing I knew, we
We love
were,
to hear that, and we didn't pay
yeah,
Spencer for it. We promise.
yeah. I tell you what, and I went to a facilitate, shortly after as well. And same thing, like we got that understanding of like these vendors really wanting to help, not just them make money, where they're like, hey, put us to work for you, like help us, let us help you make these things to show your customers. Let us get you some spec samples. I kid you not, we probably ordered like 200 to 300 pairs of shoes just this year from, Socks 101 that we met at an ASI show, because our one of our sales reps, she came back and basically ordered a pair for a customer as a thank you gift, and it blew up in the
Yeah.
community. And like, it's just exciting to see the whole team kind of like be excited about it. And same thing now that we've brought in. So one of the things that we've brought in is we brought in a UV flatbed printer that has a rotary attachment. It'll print on golf balls, it'll print on tumblers, it'll print on anything like flat. And it'll do it full color. So it's not just a pad print type of process. So if the customer has, a 10 color logo, 50 color logo, we're hitting it right on the speaker, we're hitting it on the golf balls, and it's just really quality stuff. And so uh, that was probably the biggest thing that really helped our team kind of catch the vision, is that we spent the time at the ASI show really looking at the possibilities and like wanting to be kind of those people that the vendors are like, oh yeah, we got this new product, we want to call, fully promoted and show them because we know they're going to sell the heck out of it.
Let me interject one thing. Um, Now you're doing a lot of printing in-house, a lot of stuff in-house, but there's stuff I assume that you are not doing in-house that you're doing through suppliers as well. Is that right? And I think for people who come from a printing background, they sometimes don't always realize that, hey, I don't need to necessarily buy all the equipment to do all this stuff. And I can form good supplier partnerships. So like in the SOX 101 case, I don't know if I'm correct here, but is that one where you had them do the decoration, right? So you're able to outsource some of that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's just an interesting point for printers, I think.
Yeah, yeah. No, it can be intimidating, right? Like one of the printers was $150,000, right? The other
Mhm.
one was around 30. So yeah, they're a pretty penny to be able to do that, but also they're printers that are also printing signs too, right? And so between the two businesses, they're paid for and they're working and they're doing what they need to. But yeah, we send stuff out to our trusted suppliers daily, right? Like we have, we just finished an order that was roughly 100,000 coffee mugs, right? We're not going to print that here, but we do have a great partner that we were able to find through ASI that, they take care of all of it, and it's awesome from start to finish, and things like that. And one of the things I think also that kind of really helped our customers understand that we were going to grow this way and serve them better this way, we actually took our whole showroom and removed all of the signs, right? Because the sign business, we've been doing it for 22 years. So we said, everyone already knows us for our signs. Like, let's have them come into a whole new experience. And so at the beginning of the year, we gutted the whole showroom, basically put up wall displays of everything imaginable that you can think you can put your logo on, right? And I basically told our team, I said, when customers come in, right, I want you to, we're going to have all the finished pickup product near the back of the shop. I want you to leave the customer here for 1 to 2 minutes just so that they can look around, right? It's kind of like the candy store for a kid, right? Like they're always going to go see something. Next thing you know, your kids opened up the jar and it's, you're $20 into the candy, right?
It's
And
the candy bars at the register too, right? When
right.
you're at
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
Yeah.
grocery store,
Same,
you're
same
gonna
concept.
yeah.
And it really proved true to our team because we had the day after we finished, we were in a team meeting near the end of the day. All of us were in the room kind of adjacent to the showroom so we could all see. And I said, okay, guys, I want you to watch this. And we all sat and watched as our front office girl stepped up, was helping him. She went back. This customer literally turned, went to our hat display and our t-shirt display, grabbed a hat and grabbed a t-shirt and placed $1,000 order right then.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it too in and I've been in a few different print worlds, and sign shops, apparel and promotional businesses. Some of them really lack in that showroom, right? Because they don't want to have other things, because a lot of the times, like the suppliers will use it for kind of some of their bigger people that they're decorating for. And so, yeah, you sometimes know that, hey, this little place isn't doing a Starbucks, but at the end of the day, like it's just a technique to show someone, right? And so if you happen to have the Starbucks thing, or even if you want to just make it for your local community, just get some spec samples in and really build that showroom to be an experience for someone. They're gonna love it and they're gonna just keep ordering more and more.
So I do want to touch on the classic kind of case study questions we ask for the feature here.
Yep.
In your time now, since you've been doing print and promo together, can you think of a job that combined the two, traditional print and promo, in a maybe particularly interesting way? Maybe it was the most challenging or creative or rewarding, just something that stands out to you.
Yeah, I think one of them that actually was fairly recently to kind of the whole changes. It was very much like like brand new start business, right? Where they come to us, this customer, they wanted a sign for their building and some flyers or something, just really kind of basic stuff. And our first interactions were just more or less on the phone and via email. We finally invited this customer to over, and lo and behold, this guy was obsessed with golf, and we just happened to be printing some golf balls as he was here. And he saw our machine running, and he was like, "Whoa, can you do that like here?" And I was like, "Yeah, look at this, and he came over and looked. He ended up ordering, I think, like 200 and something golf balls. Ended up ordering three more signs, and then for his grand opening, he ordered about $2,500 worth of apparel. And so his whole thing, just as a whole, this one customer from start to finish and everything, we did about $65,000 in just a matter of a couple of weeks because he didn't have to go anywhere else, right? His business cards we printed, his apparel we printed, his signs we built, and some of his giveaway swag we did. And so it's kind of those really big wins when we can get in front of the customer and have them for the whole time and show them that, hey, you can love us for every single thing. Like, why not just come here?
Yeah, why not? It makes it so much easier for them too. They already have somebody they can trust.
Yeah.
They're already willing to do they want to do business with you, so they trust you. And now there's more that they can get from you. And that all, if I heard it right, it all started from just flyers and what else was he looking to do?
Just a flyer and a building sign was
Yeah,
really all
so
that we want to do.
what do you think that to order total would have been in dollars if he just did that?
Just those two, it probably he probably would have been about $3,000 to $4,000 just because of the size of his sign. But yeah, I
All
mean,
right.
it went from
So
four
think
thousand to
about that
60.
math
Yeah,
from that to 65,000 because you have these both are that's wild to consider, you know?
yeah, and the thing that we really have started to notice about the promo side of things is that, right, once we put a big sign on someone's building, it's kind of done. No one's going to do that, multiple times. But the promos are total reorders, right? And so they ordered, another run of shirts 6 months later, right? They ordered, two or three sets of pens now. You know what I mean? And so the promo is kind of that continuation. But what's really nice, and especially with like some of the quality that's out there now in the promotional world, it's people don't really want to have something different. They just want to have that same thing that they love, right? So they fall in love with a certain pen and they fall in love with a certain t-shirt. And so it really is just, hey, I need 100 more, I need 1,000 more, and different things like that. But then when they want to do something, a little bit more cost effective that they're maybe doing for a parade or a local promotion, like they're automatically just coming here because they know that we're going to give them the best deal because we're going to be able to control like as much of it as we can. And then in the end, they're going to be like, well, I know my colors are going to be correct. I know my logo is going to be correct, right? Because sometimes you never know what you're going to get if you're just doing this all online and you're like, yeah, 4 inches is going to look good. And you end up getting it back and you know, it's crazy off. We want to see our customers in the grocery store and not avoid them, right?
Mhm. Right. Right.
That's a really good point. It sounds like since you have this showroom model in it, you didn't need to do too much pitching. You kind of just let the customer come to you and they could kind of shop around, so to speak, and be like, I want that, I want that, I want that.
Yeah, yeah. It's laid out in such a way that, because I think some people just like they kind of leave it like your kid's toy box, right? And they just splattered around. Like ours is placed very specifically, and then every month it gets updated, right? Because everyone's coming in differently, and that's what we want to see. Like I remember when we were kind of on our shoe fix and, ordering shoes left and right, we had a pair literally just sitting on the front counter, and everyone would grab it and they'd be like, holy cow, like this is amazing, right? Like, I feel like some people wanted to just put the dang things on. And we ended up moving it and got like a whole floating, shoe shelf. And people realized it. They're like, man, like you've been moving things around. And so as we even monthly kind of update it and change things around, existing customers are like, okay, I need to have that now, or, that's a really cool new product. Like put me down to get some of those for the end of year gift or whatever it may be. So
So did you run into any major roadblocks, whether with this campaign or just in the growing process of adding promo to your business?
I think the biggest hurdle was really understanding that we didn't have to do everything. I think at first when you get lined up with ASI and things like that, like sometimes you feel like, oh, I got to know like every single thing, right? And I got to know like this and I got to know that. And through going and meeting with the vendors at trade shows and then going to facilitate and things like that, we really saw that these decorators and these partners are really willing to do some legwork, right? And they want you to be successful just as you want to be successful. And so they kind of come to you saying, hey, all I need is the customer's logo and I'll do the rest, right? I think at the first we were like, oh, like we were trying to read like the details of like, how big can we go on the pens? And instead of being like, hey, we're going to trust this decorator, this partner, let's give them the logo. And so I think at first we kind of felt like we had to do everything, do all the legwork in the back. But in hindsight, the partners from ASI and those, vendors that we partnered with were really ready to do some heavy lifting with us so that we could just continue to sell.
And I think that that's very representative in a lot of ways, Spencer, for people coming from the printing world. You're so used to being not only selling the product marketing, but you're
Right.
creating, you're doing the nuts and bolts creating of it. And it is one of the advantages to promo that there's this whole industry infrastructure that exists of companies that just are suppliers, we call them, of course, is that are there just to support your outward sales efforts and will, if you connect with a high quality one, just take care of all that production stuff for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's where our disconnect was because that was our print side of us, right? Like we knew like how tall everything needed to be or the stroke weights to come out good. And so I think we just got in our own way in that regard. But now since we've, found those people that do a lot of that with us, we've been able to be more successful.
So for a distributor who's looking to do something similar in their career, from growing from print to promo and doing the types of campaigns you're working on, what would your biggest piece of advice be?
I think one of the things that we're really good at doing is always giving back in some regard to our customers, right? If we're going to do cold calls and we're going to go out and visit people, we tend to leave something behind that's more than a notepad and a pen, right? Like a couple months ago we did, some embroidered hats, a few like at the beginning of the year we did, some t-shirts, and then, you know, right now we're doing kind of like those charcuterie board like gift boxes. And so I think if you want to make an impression on your customers, especially if you're going to, add this promo leg, you have to show how you're using promo, right? And how you're making yourself memorable to your customers. So if you go to someone and you're like, hey, you should really think about ordering some pens to leave behind or something to your customers, like you better leave them a pen or something better so that you're not just saying like, oh, buy from me so that I just take everything. We definitely want to give stuff and gift stuff so that they're like, wow, this is really cool.
And as far as getting into the promo business, a lot of what you talked about, at least from what I heard, Spencer, is that it was really important for you to form those relationships with some of those suppliers to know that you could trust them, right? You're used to doing your
Oh
stuff
yeah.
in house, and so that and was that in-person interaction Like it sounds like you met quite a few of them either at shows or in other in-person ways. That was that important to establishing those relationships?
Yeah, it was definitely great to get in front of them in person, but in light of giving and stuff as well, we would send our logo to them and say, "Hey, can you give us a few ideas of things that you like that are really hot sellers that fall within a $5 budget, a $10 budget?" And then we order from them so that they see that we're going to buy stuff too, right? And I think that's where that circle of like, okay, now the vendors are starting to call us like, "Hey, we got this new thing," right? Because they know that we're actively wanting to sell stuff. And so, if you're just, reaching out to a supplier and kind of price checking them against others, you're not going to get their undivided attention. But if we found that if we can show them that, hey, we're going to buy some stuff to start giving out, and then kind of have a dialogue with them multiple times throughout the year, it's really awesome to be on the forefront of some of the cool stuff that's coming out.
Well, Spencer, this has been really educational. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Is there anything we haven't asked about that you'd like to add about, your business, the business's history, anything like that?
No, I don't think there's anything else that needs added unless you guys have any more questions you want answered.
No, you've been super generous with your time and your insights. So thank you so much for joining us. And for Chris
Yeah.
Ruvo, I am Brendan Menapace, and this has been Convergence Corner. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Spencer.